In Delhi these days, trade lobbies and bureaucrats are putting their head down to understand what should be the Indian stand for 11th Interministerial Conference of World Trade Organization, which is scheduled to be held at Argentina in the second week of December this year. India has a very pivotal role to play in this interministerial conference, where India need to take stand on the rights of the farmer in the developing countries bloc. India, for last two editions of this Congress, is constantly taking this stand that the developing countries have their sovereign right to determine subsidies given to the food stock holdings, and the onus is on the Western world to cut down on the AMS subsidies which they give to their farmers. So now India needs to push for the permanent solution in this conference, where it needs to tell the Western world that the developing countries will have to give more subsidies to cut down on hunger. The Western world is creating pressure on developing countries like India to limit their subsidies given to the farm sector and for the food to the 10% of GDP. And I am sure that most of you will understand this, that this is not sufficient. And this is the stand which India is also taking in the last two editions. We'll have to continue to take in this ministerial version as well. India is also pushing for the permanent solution of this problem. These developing countries retain their right to export these 26 commodities which come under this ambit. So India is pushing for a permanent solution, and for this India got support of roughly 88 countries. And the other contentious issues where India need to play a much stronger block is on the agreement on the investment facilitation talks and on the e-commerce. India is constantly opposing to bring these two agendas on table. India believes that it is right of any sovereign country to determine its investment facilitation policies, and since Indian e-commerce industry is in a very nascent stage, they don't want to expose it to the multilateral. So hope that in these ministerial Congress, India can push its agenda forward and safeguard the interest of the domestic companies. In the Geneva General Council meeting of WTO, India opposed inclusion of investment facilitation. There India took a stand that investment facilitation is a sovereign right of any country, and secondly it also objected to the process WTO is following, because India believes that investment facilitation is not under the ambit of WTO. So is the e-commerce companies. E-commerce companies deliberation is too tedious, and in fact if e-commerce discussion needs to be brought in, roughly 44 new elements will have to be discussed, and all the previous WTO settlements need to be reopened. India believes that since its e-commerce companies and e-commerce business is in a nascent stage, it doesn't want to take up the negotiations at this stage, so that it can safeguard the interest of the domestic companies. India hopes to safeguard the interest of the domestic companies, and we hope that India succeeds in its endeavors.